Hey y'all, I'm in here a few minutes early just because Megan and I are gonna do a sound check before it starts. So we're actually gonna start right at 8 or 9, depending on where you are. So we are not right starting yet. You can stick around, Faye, if you want to. But part of us logging in is to be sure, hey, that we have all of the sound right tonight. So anything that's on here before 8, right on the top of the hour, is just us doing a sound check. Okay, you're here. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you fine. Is it clear?
Okay. It's clear to me.
Okay, it is to me too. I'm just gonna turn my volume
But
up.
that's Faith.
Hey,
Faith is on.
hey, Faith, can you hear us both okay and clearly? I did a little and I'll do like this similar to with our video. I just said like the video starts at this time, so I just said a little
Mhm.
introduction here that these first few minutes are us just getting set up. Oh, okay,
Perfect. She
great.
said
So
you can hear.
okay, so we're
Great.
good. I am just actually posting a little reminder video on a couple of different, I think, Megan, I'm going to share it to your,
Okay, I'll share it as well.
okay. I did it at the last minute because truth be told, people just come on at the last minute. So actually, Megan, I'm going to text it to you. It's a little short video. Now that I'm live, it's funny. I saved it to my IG stories. I sent it there and also to my other
Okay.
page if you want to share it. I still say like let's get started. Just kind of with intro and stuff like right at 9, and then we'll try to leave the meat till later in case
At
people
8?
at 8 your time, 9 my time. I know I almost messed that up. I was like, okay, so I made sure in that little video say like 9 Eastern time or 8.
Right.
I guess we didn't get a chance for everybody else that got calculated for themselves. If you live anywhere else, you're gonna have to calculate it for yourself. Okay, just grab my page. Yeah, this was much better to actually do the sound beforehand. So
Yeah, because I noticed on your last one that you had some difficulty.
it was like 10 minutes. It was like that's why I went back on that post and I said just skip through the first 10 minutes because the first 10 minutes was just like trying to get it figured out. So lesson learned. But that's what I do to live streams anyway. I just go through to like I just go through to the point where they're talking about the stuff I want to hear about anyway. Okay,
Oh,
so we're gonna pray. I've already said a little to the on-call gods that we don't get many pages or any like necessary calls to staff during this live
are
stream.
you on call tonight? I thought you were on call this weekend.
I'm working this weekend, but I'm on call this whole week from home for my unit. So I'm going to. It's been a pretty.
Wow.
I've had a few calls so far, so I'm hoping that any admissions can wait until we're done. So
I
um,
did not know you were on call tonight.
yeah, I mean, it's just never a good, it ain't ever no perfect time. So I do have the pager and stuff here. So I have a little backup plan in case I get something I think that's urgent that I have to answer. But in general, I think we should be okay.
Faith said, Faith said just have them call her.
I would love that. I would love that. Okay. So it's right at 9. So I thought we'll go ahead and get started with the introducing, get introductions going and kind of start on the kind of, basic information that we're going to talk about this evening. So tonight our topic is attention deficit disorder. And I kind of said myths and misperceptions and definitely, in my work, I noticed that particularly in the Black community, and so since we're both African American, we're going to be speaking to a large degree kind of with that audience in mind. Um, a lot of misconceptions about the diagnosis, medications, and
Oh,
so
wait. Okay.
part of this conversation really is to just like demystify it and put a real human face and a real human story, and hopefully we can help somebody in the process. So that's my goal for this live stream. So again, Dr. Dooley, board certified psychiatrist practicing in Georgia. So why don't you introduce yourself for the audience?
Megan Knox. I don't know how in depth we want to go, but
I think just how we know each other, and
okay, got it. Okay, so we went to high school together, went to junior high together, elementary, junior high school together, college. Ended up, so quick story. So we were friends in high school, very small high school. So we're friends then, but you left, went to college, came back. All of our friends left, went to college. Our group, who left, went to college. I stayed home and went to the college at home, and so then you came back. And so when you came back to that school, it was like just me and you in town. Everybody else was gone. And so we met. I remember like meeting on the quad there and talking like, what are you doing back here, kind of thing. And then you came over, and it's been like close, like running
it's like
buddies.
Family, basically. It's like
pretty much, yeah, exactly.
And part of why I wanted people to know that is that I do have, I already know some of the answers to some of the questions I'm going to be asking you, and are really like personally connected to, of course, Aaron and the whole story and everything like that. So I guess my first question, I'm just going to kind of get this out of the way, because part of the myth is that children who end up having attention problems or any kind of mental health issue, it must have been something wrong, right? Either in utero or the mama did something, and a lot of even moms feel like maybe they did something. So just to kind of start this off, basically, at least my understanding, and you can help me know maybe some parts if I don't know for sure, but my understanding is your pregnancy was uncomplicated. The pregnancy was uncomplicated, right? No issues.
No complications, nothing.
And delivery, there was no problems. You didn't have like forceps or vacuum suction or nothing like that. Just so the audience knows, you don't drink, you don't do drugs, you don't smoke cigarettes. So I thought we would just get that kind of out of the way, because again, I think that that's some common beliefs about how kids end up having those symptoms. So just to kind of get that out the way. Not saying that if you do those things, that means your child will have ADHD, but just for the purpose of this conversation, letting people know there wasn't any of that on board here. So
exactly.
And again, as far as I know, Aaron, he developed normally, met all his milestones. There wasn't any concern about like delays when he was little, all that kind of stuff. So I guess my first question is, at what point did it come to your attention, or was it brought to your attention, or did you kind of start to think, oh, maybe there's something here that's a little bit different, or he's developing different?
Right. Okay. So he, very young, had a speech impediment, but was not uncommon for my family. I speak with a lisp. My brother had to go through speech therapy. So it wasn't anything uncommon. Of course, as his mother, I understood everything he said. Everybody else was like, what is he saying?
Yeah.
But just went through speech therapy. But as far as like ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, the colors and everything was perfect. I mean, he was on schedule. We moved from Arkansas to Texas when he was in kindergarten. So when we moved to Texas, we moved to a school district that I remember asking, can we get him in speech therapy? And they were like, no. He is the teacher's specific answer was, he is number 2 in my classroom as far as performance in kindergarten. Okay. He does not qualify for any special classes. Even though he did have a pretty obvious, I would say, speech impediment. Like I could understand too, but there were definitely a lot of words I couldn't understand. Right. It was obvious. And I was told no. He is well advanced above everybody else, so no, he cannot get any special accommodations.
Okay.
So that was kindergarten, right? So then spring break of kindergarten, we moved from that school district that he was just told he is number 2 in kindergarten,
Okay.
to another school district in spring break. We get there spring break, he gets in class, and so we moved from one school district to Hearst Euless Bedford School District, right? HEB. We move into HEB. Strategically, I looked for a good school district, right? So moving here, I wanted him to be in a solid district. So I did scout it out. It's one of the top. We get here in kindergarten, and they're like, what's going on here?
Okay.
Yeah, he needs something because he is behind.
Okay.
So kindergarten, they recommend summer school, right? So we go to summer school, kindergarten, then first grade. I will say this, first grade, of course, my son is a black boy. First grade, we get a black woman as our teacher.
Okay.
And I'm the homeroom mom. I'm the class mom, of course. So we're very close. I go on all of the field trips with her. We're riding the bus together. So we talk that kind of, it's a relationship with her, with the teacher. And he struggles with reading comprehension, first grade.
Okay.
That was the first red sign where she was like, he reads well, he just doesn't comprehend. Like, the questions at the end, you read the passage and then you get the question at the end, he couldn't answer them. But he read perfectly. And so that was kind of the first red flag. That's first grade. But he passes all tests and we move on to second grade. Second grade, some of the same where we're getting by, we're struggling with reading comprehension again, but we're getting by. Third grade is when math comes in as an issue.
Okay.
So now we have reading comprehension and math, and it becomes he's got, we need to get him some extra help. We're going to pull him out. We're going to give him one-on-one attention, right? So fourth grade, though, that's when it hit the fan. Fourth grade is when it hit the fan.
All right.
So that's when we noticed, okay, we got some things going on we need to address. Because, go ahead.
And I was going to say, so, because a lot of times when we, at least we hear about ADHD, we hear a lot about the hyperactivity symptoms, right? So it's coming to attention because the child is having like a behavior problem or getting like in trouble, as they would say. So like by fourth grade, when you start talking about, and this is why I think it's so important, because that's what we're commonly like presenting ADHD, the hyperactive part, not as much the inattentive part. So when you say like you notice a trouble with him, at least what I remember, it wasn't like trouble being hyperactive necessarily in class. Like, can you describe what troubles he was
Correct.
having?
And that was the problem. That is why he was diagnosed so late, and that is why I had to be so adamant about getting him tested, finding out what's going on. Because, mind you, I was the mom on all the field trips. I was always involved. I knew the teachers personally. Aaron was just a good kid. No behavior issues. He participated in class. He was, he didn't have the hyperactivity. So he would sit there and stare at you directly in your face, like, I'm paying attention. And he would be looking at something on the wall. Like, what I always described Aaron at that age, like, if there is a dot on the wall, he will see that dot and he will say, how did that get there? Why don't they clean that off? I wonder who did that. What's going on? Who put that on there? And that was him even at home. He always, even at 1, 2, or first grade, second grade, he was thinking to the next level, where I constantly had to draw him back. Like, okay, this is what we're talking about right now. And I even saw that at home. So it manifested at school as well. But it looked like he was paying attention.
And I think you brought up another important point when it comes to attention deficit disorder, is that really for the diagnosis, the symptoms need to show up in more than one location. So at school and home, or maybe school and an activity, but not just in one place. So if a person can perfectly pay attention and they don't have the symptoms at home, but they have them at school, you might want to investigate a little bit further. So you brought up a good point. You notice just on your own, like even at home, he has these same kind of the same symptoms.
And I had the pleasure also of, I have the luxury, I should say, of being a single mother. It was just me and him. Not only was it just me and him, but I moved away from all of my family. So like from sun up to sundown, it was Megan and Aaron, and that's it. So I was able to focus on different and catch little things that I wonder how parents who have multiple kids are able to pick up on these things. I feel for those parents who have to direct their energy so many places, because being one-on-one with him really did help in the process of being able to recognize something isn't right. Gotcha. Something is off.
I'm just going to say hello. Looks like we have some more people who just kind of come in, and just to kind of reintroduce, we're talking to Megan, Dr. Dooley, and Leanne for this conversation. They don't do this conversation. But basically, we are talking about her experiences parenting her son who has attention deficit disorder. So we've kind of talked about the early development, which was normal when you first started noticing issues. What I noticed is, I remember one time you told me that you woke him up at like 5:30 before school to finish his homework. And I remember being like, what? Because I'm like, okay, now
specifically you said, no, Megan, that's not normal.
I was like, are you, because I didn't know you were doing that. And you were like, oh yeah, because he would get so frustrated. You told me he'd be so frustrated, overwhelmed, that you would just say, okay, we've had enough. And he would have to wake up like at 5:30 the next day to get his work. And he was in like fourth, he was in a younger grade.
It was fourth grade when everything happened. Because, okay, so what would happen is fourth grade, the reason that I think that everything blew up in fourth grade was because fourth grade was when they started doing the long division and long multiplication. And one thing that Aaron, and I don't know if every child with ADD, of course, every child is not going to have the same symptoms or have the same issues, I should say. But one of the things that Aaron, even from little boy, I could never, ever say, Aaron, pick up your shoes, take them to the room, turn that light off, grab your coat, and let's go.
Right.
No. Right. Even from a little boy, never.
So like one thing, like pick up your toys.
Aaron, pick up your shoes and go take them to the room.
Right.
And then he would come back and I would say, okay, now go turn your light off and come back. And then he would come back, okay, now grab your coat and let's go.
Right.
It could never be multiple steps at once.
Okay.
That would never help. So in that same way, at school, in long division, long multiplication, it's multiple steps. And he could never, when you put too much on him, you're going to lose him. You see, I would say, pick your shoes up and go put them in your room, turn the light off, grab your coat. He would pick his shoes up, go put them in the room, and 10 minutes later, I'm like, where's Aaron? Aaron in there reading the book.
Yeah, he's
reading the book. He's sitting on his bed reading the book. I'm like, dude, I said grab your coat. He's like, oh, okay, I'm sorry. And the thing was, too, he was such a well-behaved child, right, that you knew that it wasn't a discipline issue. You knew that it wasn't that he was being, disobedient intentionally. I just knew something wasn't right. Mm-hmm. And I was able to catch that pretty early. So math, I would sit, we would do problem number one together, because I had my whiteboard. I was ready for you. I got my whiteboard. I'm doing problem number one on the whiteboard. So he's sitting at the kitchen table. We're doing number one. We're working together. He got it. All right. So now I'm going to sit beside you, and I'm going to do number two with you. Okay, so we sit and do number two together. Okay. He's like, all right, got it.
Yeah.
And then here comes number three, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to go in here and go wash dishes or go throw the clothes in the dryer or whatever. You do number 3 by yourself. I said, no, you do number 3, 4, and 5. I'll come back. 3, 4, and 5 look like who did it and what for.
Like it would be as if like he really didn't, like you didn't just do the first 2, like he couldn't keep what you just did in his mind.
It was literally like we had not just gone over. So then I would, okay, erase that. Let's do number 3 together. We would walk it through. He got it. I would say, okay, now do number 4 together. We're gonna sit here with you. Okay, we got it. Do number 5 while I'm sitting here. All right, got it. Number 6, I walk away. It's a wrap. And what I learned from that was he gets so distracted. So by number 6, if I say I'm gonna go do this, he's trying to think, well, what are you doing? What are you doing in there? What could you be doing? And what's going on there?
I think I remember too, like, I think it was 4th grade, but like, he got a report card, I think, and like all the work he had done, I think with you or something he had turned in, but like the school stuff, what he was missing. So like his in-class work, she would give it to him. I think he would actually do it. And then didn't you say like he would just leave it in the desk? Like he wouldn't even turn it in. He just forget to.
It was just stuffed in his desk. Right. Stuffed in his desk. Right. And it was to the point, so at that time, 4th grade, I'm so frustrated. Like, that's when I say that multiple tears, multiple frustration was because we're doing this every night. So can you imagine? And I'm then feeling his frustration. So the reason that we would stop at night is we would stop because he would be so frustrated. He would be so upset, which understandably so. Right. He knew the answer, but he couldn't get it out, you know? And so I had a team, which I call the Aaron team, on email constantly. So I had you, Faith, who was in here. Faith was a teacher in Houston, so I needed a teacher in Texas. I had my brother, who was a teacher in Arkansas, and my sister-in-law. So I would be emailing, this is what happened today. What do y'all think? This is what happened today. What do y'all think? Here's the email from the teacher. Look what she said. What should I do? Yep. Kind of thing. It was just a constant. Oh, 4th grade was rough until we got him diagnosed.
And then that was going to be actually my next question. So what was the process you went through to actually get him a formal diagnosis? Because I do remember you trying to get like some testing through the school and ultimately going to the doctor. So how did you go about that process? Yes.
So luckily, again, I was in a phenomenal school district. So, and I had relationships with the teachers. So while all of this is going on and I'm struggling at home, so they're struggling at school. And so they're emailing me, I'm emailing them, you know, we're going back and forth. And his teacher, Letitia Moore, I'll never forget that woman. She is an administrator actually at another school district now. Letitia Moore emailed me and said, here's my cell phone number. Can you call me after work? Okay. Like, great. I called her. She said, I couldn't tell you this I didn't want to tell you this over the school phone. I didn't want to tell you this over the school email, but this is what you need to do. We need to get him tested. Okay. So, but I can't recommend the testing. You have to do it. So this is what you need to call to the school and say. Okay. I mean, she literally said, as her 4th grade teacher, you need to call to the school, you need to request this, and you need to say, this is why you're requesting it. And then they're going to call me as his teacher, and they're going to ask me, does this sound legit? And then I'm going to say yes. And then we're going to reach out to his 1st grade teacher, and then she's going to back it because I'm going to talk to her, and then we're going to get him tested. And that's how it happened. Okay. But while this testing was going on, Dr. Dooley, who was not Dr. Dooley at the time. She was just regular old Leanne. Yeah. She played doctor since high school. Let's tell the truth. Let's tell the truth. And I will say this, though. It is very beneficial. The team that I put together was so beneficial because I would say, hey, they're trying to retain Aaron for 4th grade. What do y'all think? And my brother was like, how beneficial is this retention going to be? Let's talk about that. Or Faith would be like, I don't know, let's look at something else that we could do. You know, it is very important to recognize I can't do this by myself. I have a problem. My child this is an issue. We got to get this done because it's not about me. It's not about me and what, you know, we got to figure out what is going on because there's something ain't right and we got to figure it out, right? Mm-hmm. So Leanne then tells me, I think he has ADD. I think you need to go because I got all of these points and he got me.
We're laughing because Megan sent me an email that I wrote from 2008, I think it was. So actually, I think I was in residency then, like just like barely out of med school. And I wrote the whole email with like all the criteria. And I was like, he meets all these criteria. I think he had ADHD. She just sent me that. So that's why we're laughing because that was like 2008. And I was like, I think this is diagnosis.
Yeah, when she was playing doctor, she was diagnosing folks.
Yeah. Didn't even have hardly no years under my belt, but I was like, I think this is what it is.
Exactly. So Leanne was like, he needs to ADD. He's got ADD. You need to take him to a psychiatrist. Of course, I'm a black mama, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, they ain't giving my baby no medicine.
Yeah,
that's a lie. I'm not taking him.
That's what you said.
I'm not giving him no medicine. That's a lie. I'm not. No, we're going to get this test done at the school and they're going to figure it out and that's going to be it. Yep. No. And then one night, in my frustrations, of course, you know, like I said, no, this was legit. Like I can laugh about it now because he's 22 rough. And he's in school and he's, you know, and I remember I read back on some old emails from when all of this was going on. And it took me back to that point, the frustration. Oh my gosh. Oh, it was rough. But in my frustration one night, I remember talking to you in tears and being like, I remember specifically saying, how much longer am I going to have to go through this crap? This is so tiring. And you, with your smart mouth,
I remember what I
said. Mm-hmm. You said, I don't know. How much longer are you going to go through it? It's up to you.
The choice is yours.
Hey, well, you tell me how long you going to go through it.
That is just like something I would say too. Like, I don't know. When you done with it, I guess you'll be done with it then.
Yep.
You needed that though. You needed it.
I did. But so that's why you need truth tellers in your life that can just say no. Okay. So I finally, while he's getting testing, in the reason that his teacher had to call me and I had to go through jump all of those hoops to get him tested through the school system is because it is extremely expensive. Extremely. And not only is it expensive, but it's intensive. Yeah. So they bring the diagnostician in, and she has to do all of these. And he goes through multiple days, IQ testing, reasoning testing. He's going through multiple testing for multiple days. So it's not like just one day they bring him in, talk to him, and send him on his way. No, because what I requested was the full battery. Okay. I want it all. Yeah. Because that's what she told me to do. So while she's doing that, I'm then like, I fall on the sword and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make him a psychiatrist appointment. So I make him a psychiatrist appointment. I go to see, and even you told me, now you may not like the first one, you may have to go to a couple of people. So you just be prepared. Yeah. You fully prepared me for all the steps. So I go to the first appointment. I love her. She's great. She talks to Aaron. She talked to me for probably about 5 minutes. And this is a 9-10-year-old Aaron. She talks to him for ever, like the rest of the appointment. So 45 minutes, she's just talking to him. And of course, you remember Aaron at that time. He wasn't trying to hear her. So she's like pulling teeth, trying to get answers out of him, right? Mm-hmm. So then she tells me it's quite clear that he does have ADD.
Okay.
And in order to treat ADD, we have this medication, this medication, and this medication. And my behind said, well, is there anything else we can do other than medication? Because, yeah, I wasn't for all of that. I got the diagnosis, but don't medicate my child.
Right.
Okay. And she said she was a little Indian lady, little bitty Indian lady. And she pulled that desk to the side, the computer. She had a computer or laptop on like this rolling desk. She pulled that desk to the side. She looked me square in my face and she said, you have a young black boy. And I work in the juvenile detention center. And what I know that pairs well with ADD and ADHD is impulsivity. All the kids that I see down there at the juvenile hall, if they were just diagnosed and could handle some of this impulsive behavior, they wouldn't be there today. So, so I was like, so moral of the story is, I had a whole bunch of people running checks on me during this whole thing.
Because it's
telling me what I was gonna do.
It's scary, the thought of medicating your child. Like, I totally get it. You know what I mean? Is it going to change him? Is it going to make him a zombie? Those are things that I hear. So, I mean, we're laughing about it, but I mean, I think legitimately being worried, like if I give it to him now, what's going to happen later? So, yeah. And
that is what was my concern. So, but she said, how about this? How about we just start at 5 milligrams? Let's start at 5 milligrams. Let's give it 2 weeks. And then you guys come back to see me. So reluctantly, I was like, okay. I remember this day because it was, of course, you know, I'm strategic with everything. I scheduled his psychiatry appointment for Barack Obama's first inauguration so that I could be at home all day to watch the inauguration. So it's Barack Obama's inauguration. And then I scheduled this appointment. We're driving home, and Aaron says, a 9-year-old, 10-year-old Aaron says, so Mom, is this medicine going to help my smarts come out now? And I thought, oh, God.
Before you go into, like, at that point, what did he know? Like, did he know that he had diagnosis? Like, did you tell him, or did he hear, like, the doctor talk about it? Like, what did he know at that point?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Oh, yes. He was there for everything.
Okay.
And he knew. So the testing at school and the psychiatrist appointment are running neck and neck.
Okay.
Everything is happening at the same time. So everybody around him is moving parts. His teacher at school is moving parts. So she's more diligent than me. She's like, nah, we're going to get him ready. We're going to get him diagnosed. You know, we're going to figure out, is this dyslexia? What is this, right? So all of this is going on at the same time. So we finally get him diagnosed. We get him on the medication. So he's on medication, 5 milligrams. I send an email to the teacher and I say, listen, we're starting. The psychiatrist asked me to start the medication on the weekend because she was like, don't give it to him yet. Give it to him on Saturday morning so you can watch him and just see if you notice anything different. Mm-hmm. So I did. She's like, you know, if he's sleeping more, she gave me everything to watch for, right? So I gave it to him Saturday, he was fine. Gave it to him Sunday, he was fine. Gave it to him Monday and emailed the teacher when I got to work. So I emailed her and I said, listen, we're starting on medicine. He took it this weekend. This is day 1. Will you please watch him? I need to know what you see because I'm going to have to report back to the psychiatrist. You tell me what you see. I want to call you later. So she's like, her email response was, I knew it because this is the first time that he has ever. So when they come in the classroom, she gives them a worksheet of busy work. That's usually like, so this is 4th grade. It's usually like 2nd grade math questions. And so she was like, this is the first time all year he has completed his worksheet.
Oh,
so I knew that you did something. Yeah. Okay. So from day 1, it was a difference. So it's 5 milligrams for 2 weeks. But that was when they switched classes. So we go to the second class or the second half of the day, and it had worn off by that second half.
Okay.
So we started to see that his second teacher started to report, yeah, when he comes in, he's good, but by the end of the day, he's not. Right. So when we went back for our med management checkup, like 2 weeks later, we went up to 10 milligrams. And we stuck at 10 milligrams all of elementary until probably about 6th grade. And then we went up to 15 from there.
And like, tell us like his experience, like, did he have side effects? And did you do like drug holidays? I know sometimes parents, like on the weekends or during the summers, they won't give it to them. Like, how did he do with that? And did you ever have any trouble with him taking it? Like, did he ever refuse to take it or anything like that?
Right. Well, the type of medicine that he had was a capsule. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it was a capsule. So we could open it. That's a capsule, right?
Okay.
So, yeah. So it would open it and put it on applesauce. And he would take it with a spoonful of applesauce every morning. And that's how he took it. But yes, he did have side effects. And that was another thing that she warned me about and you warned me about, that the first medicine may not work. We may have to switch to something else. Thank God it did work. So we didn't have to switch. The first one worked fine. Okay. But the side effects that he had was appetite suppressant. It was a major appetite suppressant for him. Okay. So he wouldn't eat lunch. So it was at that time that I started like waking up in the morning. Like before going to school, I would make him pancakes, eggs, bacon, grits every morning. Every morning he had a real breakfast because I knew he wouldn't eat again until afternoon. And he always had like a granola bar, peanut butter crackers or something in his backpack because when that crash came, he was hangry. He's ready. So, yeah, and he went to an after-school program, so they had snacks there, but that wasn't enough. He needed something else. So he would eat eat a huge breakfast, take his medicine, and then would eat lunch or would just snack on lunch, and then he would crash by 4 o'clock. It literally lasted until the end of school, 3 o'clock, and the medicine wore off, and then he was hungry.
That's a pretty common side effect. Having the decrease in appetite is a pretty kind of common side effect. So basically you navigated around it by kind of increasing like how much food he had kind of on the end, since you knew he wouldn't eat during the. Exactly. Now tell us about like going into high school. Did he still take the medicine? Did he still need it? I know he's a young man now, so he had his own business. Let's take it his grown man's business, but like into high school, did he still take it? And if so, did it still seem to work? Yeah,
so again, I forgot to say, he didn't take it on holidays. Okay. He didn't take it on the weekends. He didn't take it during the summer. Okay, he only took
drug holidays is what we call it.
Right. He definitely had drug holidays. He only took it during school time, on school days, period. And so, so he took it all the way through. Our elementary school ends at 6th grade here. So he took it all the way through elementary. 7th grade, he was pretty consistent. 8th grade, he started to kind of, I'm going to take it, I may take it. But by that time, for me, it was his responsibility. Okay. So I left it all on him because he's old enough at that point. So I'm like, you take it, you know, it's your responsibility. You get up in the morning, you take your own pill. By 10th grade, though, he wasn't taking that medicine. Because what I would tell him is, when you get down to your last 5 pills, let me know so that I can go get a refill. And of course, it's a psychotic medication. So a prescription has to be written. So they don't hold them at the pharmacy. There has to be like a paper prescription for every month.
Control medication. It's a control medication.
Thanks for that. See, that's why you're here. So, but they would give me 3 months in advance, the paper. So I would have them in my billfold. So I just had to take them to Walgreens or whatever. So, but yeah, by sophomore year of high school, he never took those pills. Junior year, never, like sophomore year, maybe 2 or 3 a year. Like whenever he had a test, he would take them. Like if he had a real hard test, he would take them. By junior, senior year, he was done. He hadn't taken those. I don't even know. He hadn't taken them.
And he graduated from high school. How would you say his like performance was? Do you think he did, fairly well, like considering? Because what happens for some children is as their brain matures, they have, the symptoms less. Sometimes people just learn other skills to manage it. They just they come up with their own organization system, just their own way of doing it. I know you really kind of like help him kind of stay on track too a lot. So
Yeah, we definitely organization was always an issue, and it's always still today something I have to be like,
okay.
handle your business. you know, like, yeah. So that was, but as far as grades, I mean, if it wouldn't have been in his records, his teachers probably never would have known. And I don't even know that his teachers knew in high school that he was diagnosed with ADD.
So he
I don't
really,
even think they knew.
sounds like he really kind of came into his own way of kind of managing and kind of staying on
Yeah,
task himself as he got older.
He knew to rein himself in. He knew, okay, you come back over here. Like, yeah, the older he got.
And let me see, I'm just checking on the time. Okay, good. We're about 9:36. And so I see we have quite a few people who are watching. If you do have questions for myself or for Megan, this would be a good time to go ahead and put your questions there, and we'll try to, our best to answer those. I guess one of my, I guess I'm thinking about like the myths and the misperceptions. So one of the big ones I hear is, I don't want my child to become addicted to medication. They're going to become addicted to it. And so what I talk to people about is like, there is tolerance, if you take something every day over a period of time. Dalton says I'm quiet. Hold on, let me.
I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, now you're back.
Sorry. I was trying to get the sound. I'm sorry, Theo, if you can't hear me. I don't know if that's the same for everybody else. I'll try to speak up in case I'm having an issue. Okay, so we do have one question. What if it makes your child not eat and feel like a zombie? So, this is from Miss Tony Holt. So, Miss Holt, I'm not sure if you heard us. Megan was talking earlier that Aaron did have a decrease in appetite, and so she kind of managed that by giving him larger meals in the morning and the afternoon. I'll let you address that part about feeling like a zombie, because for me, if a child is on ADD medicine or ADHD medicine, they feel like a zombie, that may be, to me, a sign they're over medicated. So maybe you can kind of speak to that though.
I agree. And that is one of the things that his psychiatrist actually told me to watch for. And so, like I said, when I got the diagnosis, she gave him the medication. She gave me a battery list of things to watch for. If this happens, let me know. If this happens, you're on the wrong meds. If this happens, call me. If this, so there are a number of things, and being a zombie was one of them that she was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that.
So Ms. Holt, if you notice that it could be that if it's yourself or your child, maybe is a little over medicated, maybe, because you shouldn't be a zombie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's see. Go ahead, Megan.
But I will also say, while you're reading, okay, I'll also say this one thing. Aaron, his first psychiatrist that he had that officially diagnosed him and gave me the prescription. Like I told you, she was this little lady. So little Indian lady. And so she was kind of, Aaron couldn't really understand, some of the things that she would say and things like that. But we went to her consistently because I really liked her personality. I liked the way she talked to him. Even at 9 and 10, she talked to him like he was 15, 14. Yeah. She talked to him like he was a person, exactly. Yeah. And like I was not even in the room. And so what I appreciated about her is we saw her a lot. So I remember the one time, and Aaron was very timid about talking to her because she would ask him a whole lot of questions and he would give her one-word answers. And I remember the day we came in and she said, so they always ask, who lives in the house with you? And of course he was like, it's just me and my mom and my dog Kobe. And about a year later, seeing him, We come in and she's like, Aaron, it's been so long. Because, you know, we take summer off, right? So she didn't see him until fall. And she said, Aaron, it's been so long. How's Kobe? And when she said that, I noticed he just started talking. And when we were walking to the car, he said, Mom, she remembers Kobe. And I said, I know, isn't that cool? And from that moment on, she had him. And he would come in there and tell her everything. He would just talk and talk and talk back, like, because she remembered him. And the one thing of this, you know, the journey that I regret, she moved to another city that's about 30 minutes away from me. And it ended up being about 45 minutes in traffic because we would have to go like after school. And so I found another psychiatrist closer to me. I now realize I hate that I did that. I hate it. Hate it. So if you do find a good one, stick to her or him, you know, because
it's a lot of us out here who are kind of different. So
yes, you are. Yeah.
That's just real talk. So when you find a good therapist, psychiatrist, if they're good and it's working, stick with them. So
yeah.
Okay, so another question, Megan. What do you think about today's diet, like processed food, sugar, contributing to ADHD or other behavioral issues? And I guess so for you, did you make any, I guess, what do you think about that? And did you make any dietary changes or anything?
I mean, I've read about that. You know, like I've read about everything. I looked at all options before medicating. If you know, medication was the last thing on my list.
Yeah.
I did not want medication. And so I looked at all options. But I will tell you this, I was tired. I was tired. I was tired of crying 5 nights out of the week because I'm so tired and I'm so drained. And this boy is never going to get this. And oh my God, what is this? Like, this was emergency situation here. And I'll also say, I'm by nature, like, not a selfish person, you know, by nature. But I also began to think, if I'm this frustrated and I get to go to work every day and be away from it, how frustrating is it for him to live in this brain and to have to sit in class all day knowing you know the answer and can't articulate it, and then having to come home and having to deal with your mom working with you, and then wake up at 5 a.m. and finish work. And so it got to the, like, I think that diet could help, you know, and I everybody making the dietary changes, and I think that that's legit. I get that. But for me, at that point when he was in 4th grade, it was like I think that diet is an agent, but I also think that medication is an agent. I think that being organized is an agent. Like, medicine didn't save the world, but it sure did help.
Right. To me, they're different tools, you know, and just like sometimes you need a wrench, sometimes you need a hammer. You might need all of them to build something, but different things will work at different times, you know. And so I definitely feel that way too. Like, they're all tools. From my perspective, just in general, when it comes to dietary changes and mental health, I really believe that people should really like trust their bodies. And for parents with children, you know how your children respond if they have caffeine, you know, or if they have too much sugar. If they're, I mean, some children may become hyperactive. Some children, it doesn't bother them so much. So as far as like caffeine and dietary things like that, I mean, just use your intuition. And if you're an adult who has ADHD, you know, use your intuition. You know the things that help you and the things that don't really seem to help. I know there's different like research, kind of small studies about like different dyes. Maybe certain people like dye number 4, red dye number 11, all this kind of stuff, that maybe different people are sensitive to those. Again, if you feel like you're eating, you know, red or cherry flavor, you know, artificially colored or flavored foods, and it's impacting your child, I mean, you could take it out. I mean, I feel like those things won't hurt anything to try it, you know what I mean? But if you're using that one tool and it's not, hey, if you cut out sugar and your child is, they probably do not have attention deficit disorder, right? Like, if just changing the dietary thing just totally solves it, it probably meant that that's what the issue was, you know. Typically just making a dietary change isn't gonna be, ain't gonna be enough. Another question, Megan. This is about, is 6 too early to start the testing process? Or they asked me to wait. She doesn't have.
Oh, you know what? I saw that and I meant to say, so Aaron, like I said, Aaron's diagnosed at nine going in fourth grade. So he was 9 years old, turning 10. One thing his psychiatrist told me then, and she was like, he is late. He should have been diagnosed a long time ago. She was like, usually the diagnosis come in kindergarten, first grade. What made you wait so long? And so that's another thing, getting slapped in the face. Multiple people slapped me in the face beyond way. But that was, I wish I would have taken him to a psychiatrist early on, like 6, because all of the symptoms, I was really, it was a blessing to have teachers that I had relationship with. So, I was at the school all the time talking to them. And so, right or wrong, when you are at the school a lot and the teachers see you a lot and you email the teachers a lot, they pay really close attention to your child. And they give your child more direct attention. And so Aaron got a lot of direct attention when he was little. And so when he was first grade, second grade. So he had a lot of one-on-one time. But yes, I wish I would have taken him at 5 or 6, for sure.
I think honestly, don't beat yourself up too bad. A lot of times the symptoms don't really come to be noticed until kids go to school and they have to, sit and, change attention and do all those things, because when you're at home or you're in preschool, you're not having to do as much of that kind of thing. So I think it's pretty common for like kindergarten and, first grade for kids to know it. Typically ADHD isn't diagnosed in anyone, like too young. So like 3 and 4, because some of these things that we're describing in really small kids, it's just like a normal development part of their development. So Faith, I would say that especially your little one, she's really kind of in that kind of transition period. So I don't think it would be too early if you're noticing something to start bringing it to attention. What I would say though is that I think having, expectations for, a person, a kindergarten or a first grader, really anyone, I would say middle school or younger, to do like remote learning and not be distractible or have a hard time. I just because we know, right, in general, we advise parents, don't let your child say screen time like more than a couple hours a day, right? And now we're saying school is screen time all day. So I think some of it is just a function of remote learning, and that it's really hard, especially for a little one who doesn't have much experience of even being in school, to try to say like school is now all online and expect them to understand what that means and everything might be hard. So it's not too early to bring it to someone's attention, but just know that this year it's been such a way that they may even be a little bit hesitant, just because it's not an even normal like school environment this year to say like this is officially an attention problem or not. I just put that out there because I know that this year's been okay. Next question from Brandy. My baby has autism and ADHD. He's not on any meds. What's the best one to start with? So that's a hard question. So I'm just going to answer it real briefly. What I would say is that autism is a spectrum, and so and it can include a lot of comorbid conditions. So sometimes children on the autism spectrum can have attention deficit disorder symptoms or disorder. They can have OCD or other kind of anxiety symptoms. That's really common. So Brandy, what I would say the first thing for you is to be for sure that you are working with a psychiatrist, hopefully a good one, a child psychiatrist if you can, to really kind of tease out what really needs to be treated, especially if they're not on any meds, because sometimes there's so many different things that can go on symptom-wise in a person with autism spectrum that it really depends. You need to be careful and know what you need to treat. So for example, sometimes if children on the spectrum of autism have anxiety and you treat with stimulants, what we're talking about, you can make anxiety worse. And right, the goal is to help here and not make things worse. So I would definitely say, if there are symptoms you feel that need to be treated, be sure you're working with a good, hopefully psychiatrist who can kind of help tease out and prescribe something that will be helpful for all the possible symptoms and not like be harmful, because I see that happen a lot. You're trying to make one thing better and then you kind of get here and now you got another issue. question from a friend. How do you know which medicine to try first? So maybe Megan, you can kind of say kind of how that option was presented to you in the night time.
It was really the psychiatrist. I mean, the psychiatrist, I I got a great psychiatrist. I really did. And she was like, I really think this one is going to work the best for what he has going on. I mean, she sat and just stared at him for a while, like I was talking and she was just looking at him. So she's like, I can see him fidgeting his legs, so he doesn't really have hyperactive. He's not really hyperactive. He can focus. So I really think his problem is focusing. So we're going to give him this one. So, she ended up, can I say what she gave him? Is that legal?
I mean, it's his information, but yeah, he was it's up to you. I mean, we're talking about stimulants. It's not that many of them. So hopefully he won't mind. Anyway, hopefully he won't mind.
Yeah. He don't care. I told him what I was doing. He was like, oh, okay. Yeah, he don't care. But he was on Focalin XR. So XR is extended release. So he was on Focalin XR, and he was on it for 5 milligrams first. I think it goes up to, 25?
Something like
I think 25 or 30.
Sometimes we prescribe way over what the max is, particularly for adults. So
yeah, no.
Okay.
She didn't. Glad he didn't go to you. So
yeah.
Yeah. And so he started with Focalin XR, 5 milligrams, and ended up getting up when it was all said and done. Like I said, he phased out by high school. He was able to manage himself. But when it was all said and done, I think we got up to 15. We ended up ending it at 15. So
we have Dr. Brandy. She's saying Focalin XR goes up to 40 milligrams. She's a child psychiatrist who's also a pediatrician and an adult psychiatrist. So Dr. Brandy.
And you know what? Speaking of pediatrician, he ended up. So I told you I had my first psychiatrist that I loved, and I've really, since I've been sitting here, I've been thinking I'm gonna see if he can go back to her, but that's neither here nor there. So. So we went to that psychiatrist. Then we went to another guy that was local, that was closer to here. He didn't like him that much, and I didn't either. But at that point, we were just like, just write the prescription and let's get out of here. So, but then we just stopped going to him altogether, and his pediatrician would write the prescription for him every.
So that's another good point. Is that for cases that are, I would say, more very like simple and complicated, not like what we were talking earlier, where there may be like autism and attention deficit or another kind of condition. But if a person's stable on their medication and dose, it's pretty common for the pediatrician to order it for them. So thank you for bringing up that point. So people don't necessarily have to go to a psychiatrist. I think when we were talking about your case earlier, part of it is we needed the diagnosis. That was part of the psychiatrist and all that. But oftentimes pediatricians diagnose and treat attention deficit disorder commonly also. From my perspective, when I think about treating attention deficit, and again, I don't treat children, so Dr. Brandy, if you want to chime in your process here, I'd be glad to kind of share it. But in adults I do treat, part of it is really looking at what symptoms am I treating. So am I primarily treating inattention? Am I primarily treating hyperactivity? I know there are some sometimes children with attention deficit can have symptoms like more aggressive, like with the impulsivity, and it can sometimes have an aggressive component. And so in that case, I might use medications that aren't stimulants. And there are also non-stimulant medications. So if a person, let's say maybe they take Ritalin or Adderall or Focalin and they can't tolerate it for some reason, there are some non-stimulant options out there. And I use those in adults also, not infrequently. So there's different avenues to go. So to answer that question there, how do you know which one to start with? Really, the doctor has to know what is the main thing that we're trying to treat, like symptoms wise. Is it primarily impulsivity? Is it inattention? From my perspective, as a person who treats adults who have attention deficit, is there a substance abuse issue going on? Like Megan talked about earlier, that tendency toward impulsivity, and so sometimes people don't make good decisions around substances, or they'll be self-medicating. So from my perspective, I might use non-stimulants to treat attention deficit too. So there's like so many options. But yeah, definitely, hopefully trust your psychiatrist, pediatrician, or your primary care, whoever is treating your condition. And it's never wrong to ask them, why are they prescribing this to you? So if you feel like something else may work better, or you read something, like, don't hesitate to bring it up with them and ask, like, why are you prescribing me this first? That's perfectly okay.
And I really appreciated also the psychiatrist really listening to my concerns. You know, when I told her I don't want to medicate my child, and she said, I get it. I know you don't, but this is why I think you should. And how about we compromise and start him at 5 milligrams, and then you come back to me and let's talk after that. So it was really a relationship, you know, with the psychiatrist, and not just, we didn't just pop in and that was it. You know, she listened to everything going on, and I had Aaron had a relationship with her.
So we have about 5 minutes left for our hour, and I don't see any new questions. So I'm going to summarize and give you a chance to kind of any kind of last thoughts, but kind of some of my take homes from you are that, you know, being honest to like recognize that there's a problem, you know, and as early as you can do that and work to get a diagnosis. Some of the pearls I'm taking from you is that you were very active in his school. You knew his teachers, and like you said, you made your team. Like, you know, it just so happened that you had, you know, teachers and the people you know, but even if you don't, you can use other resources to try to come up with a team of like people who can help you, listen to you, you know, run things by. So so as you know, have a relationship with the school, be active in the school, have your team. Those are just like some of the pearls. Try to get early kind of intervention. What other kind of tools or tips would you leave for just people listening, for grandparents or parents, if they suspect or have a child with attention deficit disorder?
I just think there's nothing wrong with saying, you know, I think he may need help. And like, so I didn't even say, you know, he ended up getting tested at school. We diagnosed him with ADD by the psychiatrist, but that's separate from school. So with it testing from school, they ended up determining that they thought that he may have some dyslexia as well. So ended up giving him special classes for dyslexia. It turned out that one of his reasoning IQ, she was like, he has, so she called me and she was like, let's meet for the test results. So I'm like, oh God. So I go up there and it's like the principal, the vice principal, his teacher, his math teacher, and the diagnostician. And I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to tell me? So here I am sitting in this room and they're like, he has some interesting results. That his IQ reasoning was like crazy weird, that he's reasoning on like an 8th grade level. And she was like, what that means is like, if I give him a problem, like he can solve it in the mindset of like an 8th grader. And we think that that comes from him, that is attributing to his problem because he's thinking on so many levels, right? So he's thinking 12 levels ahead when he should be just answer the question, right?
Right.
So it ended up being that so he had the medication that assisted, and then he ended up getting special accommodations for like his standardized testing. He was able to, they put him in a room with just a few people to lessen the distraction because, you know, too many people in there. He's trying to figure out what everybody else is doing.
Okay.
So, and so he had a very few people in the class with, I think he got pulled out and there was like 3 kids in a room taking the test. The reading part, they read it to him. So he didn't have to read he just had to listen. They read it to him and then he answered the questions. For math, he got to have a multiplication table to use on all of his tests, which was cool. And you know, at first I was like, man, you know, I don't want him to have all of these accommodations. And then I started thinking about it. Well, why not?
Right.
I mean, he's gonna have a calculator, so when he gets older.
His accommodations were a direct result of the testing, and so the test
right.
specifically, and 2, I think just for people listening, he had a very extensive battery of tests. So I think that's to me also a take home. If I guess if there's an option to get more as much detailed testing as you could, because that also enabled him to be able to get some of these these other
Right.
accommodations.
So he had different accommodations. He had the accommodations at school. And so that goes back to, though, what you were saying about having different tools in your toolbox. So it just so happened that they all started to come at the same time,
Okay.
that we got diagnosed. So he got his diagnosis and then he got medication. But then he also got the test results back. So now we know that he may have a slight dyslexia. So we're going to read the problem. We're going to read the passages to him. And then we're going to give him a multiplication test. And we had always struggled with, we have like a standardized testing at the end of the year. I think all states do. But ours, the way it's set up is you have to pass it to go on to the next grade. So it's really stressful,
right?
Extremely stressful. And so on the kids, because the teachers are like, you got to pass or you're not going to go on to the next grade. And so having those accommodations really chilled out his mood. And he just became, the jovial all the time, that those accommodations were able to assist him. And that was beneficial as well. Both of them were all of those tools were beneficial.
So like use them, don't feel like he's not getting a step ahead. He's actually getting what he needs so he can compete just like everybody else. He's not getting anything extra. That's just what he needs to do what he can do.
And all of that ended up phasing out. In elementary, they asked if we wanted to take it to junior high, which junior high would have been 7th grade, if we wanted to keep those accommodations or drop them off. We had another meeting. I was at school a lot. So we had another meeting, and the principal at the elementary said, do not remove those accommodations, because why not? Why would you remove those accommodations? He was like, that's an umbrella. Keep his umbrella as long as he possibly can. He don't have to use them.
But just have it in
He
place.
can read it if he wants. Yeah, he can know the account, but it gives him an umbrella. And so he used it for junior high, but then in high school, like I said, they didn't even know. So
we have one last question. So I guess we'll kind of maybe review that and then we'll finish up. I've heard that some children who have dealt with trauma have symptoms that sometimes mirror ADD. Is medication an option in those cases or not? That's what Ms. Ford. So what I would say is that, yes, medication is an option, but again, if the person is displaying symptoms and it really is related to trauma, then what I would suggest in that case is the child needs trauma-focused therapy, right? They need treatment for PTSD or trauma symptoms, and they need trauma-focused treatment. So to me, if a child is displaying the symptoms of ADHD, but it's due to trauma and we just treat ADHD, we're missing the whole other thing over here that needs to be addressed. They need trauma focused, whether it's play therapy or some other kind of trauma focused treatment, right? It's not really addressing the underlying issue. So yes, you can have trauma and ADHD. Yes, you can treat both, but if it really is trauma and it's mimicking symptoms, I would say the first thing to do is get that child connected in a way that they can get trauma-focused treatment, whether that's medications or psychotherapy. I wouldn't just treat the ADHD symptoms there. You would miss a whole big part. And let me tell you, missing trauma early in life, when you have a chance to try to address it, can lead to so many other issues and problems. So addressing trauma early, if you get the chance, really gives that person the best chance to kind of go and have a emotionally healthy, kind of stable life after that.
And I'll just end with this. I'm going to end and then I'll let you end, right? So I'll just end with this. As a mom, I know the struggle for every mom that's listening, that will potentially listen. I know the struggles of having a child that you have to go through all of this with. Oh my gosh, the struggles are still real in my heart, even though I'm so removed from it. He's 22 now, so, and he, like I said, it was 9 or 10 when it happens, or when everything kind of hit the fan. But struggling through everything then, getting him medicated, getting all of the, I see Dr. Brandy said the IEP and the 5, I got all of them IEPs. So I still have them. I saved them. So, but
Just in case. You don't know.
yeah, just in case I need them. But going through all of that was stressful. There were many nights of struggling, many nights of tears, many nights of, oh my God, this is so, you know. I remember going to work, and I am spiritual, so I would pray and I would fast, and people would be like, "Girl, you be praying and fasting again?" I'll be like, "You just don't know what I'm going through at the house.
When I go home, mm-hmm.
You don't know." Yeah. So, but going through all of that, but now coming out, I have a 22-year-old. So he graduated in 2017, and when he walked across that stage, I remember looking and thinking, nobody knows but me and Aaron what it took to get him across that stage.
Right.
It was something to get him across that stage.
Yeah.
So, but it's worth it. I mean, like, he ended up going to community college, and now he's at another college and graduating in August. Semester just ended December 18th. He took 5 classes. We got 4 A's and 1 B.
That's awesome.
So yeah. So there is a celebration at the end, but you do have to be diligent, and you have to put the time in on the front end, and it's gonna be consuming, and it's gonna take some time, and you're gonna have to do the work, but it's so worth it at the end. And don't be afraid of your you're going to hear medication is going to freak you out. I get it. You don't want your child to be medicated because you don't want them walking around like zombies. I get it. I get all of that. But it ain't about you. It's not about you. You've already graduated. You already went through school, and you did just fine. Your child is struggling. As a parent, you do whatever you have to do to make sure that your child is successful. And if that means you got to take off work and take them to a psychiatrist, find a psychiatrist 20 miles away from your house and drive them, that's what it means. But you got to do what you got to do.
You spent at that school. I mean, you were active in the school anyway, but to me, that's one of the take homes I take is like, it took a lot of your time being up at that school.
A lot. Okay.
It took a lot. I mean, I'm talking about you really had to make it, like you said, have those relationships, and you were up at that school. Like, they knew you.
Every day, every new school year, I would get the teacher's email address, and I would email them and say, "This is my son. This is what the diagnosis is. I'm going to be checking in with you weekly."
Okay.
Because I want you to know you're going to have to watch, because you're going to have to report back to me. You have to tell me something.
Okay, so that's really cool. So I think for the people listening, like, that's the level that you will monitor, and you would email at the beginning and follow up with them weekly. Weekly,
they heard from me. But it was a give and take, you know, like, yes, I would email the teachers all the time, but they also knew if they needed a volunteer for the field trip, they would email me. "Hey, Megan, you free? Can you come ride the bus with us? Can you come up here and copy this or whatever?" And I would do that. I'm here to, you help me and I help you. Let's help each other. So I was always at the school, and we were always communicating. So I always have these relationships with the teachers.
So thank you for that. Just really good summary. And so we'll kind of I think that's all the questions. So we'll finish up. So Megan, thank you for sharing your story, Aaron's story. I really do appreciate it, because I think, like, just demystifying it and making it not scary and just showing just like real life what it looks like. It's not always hyperactivity. Sometimes it is inattention. And I think just sharing with people how much work it took, like, on your behalf for Aaron, and also just like with that school and getting him tested and the diagnosis. Because I think some people's perception is that it's just going to be smooth sailing. Just know, like, no, you might have to fight. It might go good. You might have a teacher, like you mentioned, that teacher, but you might not. Then you might have to be like a bulldozer, you know what I mean? And so thank you for—
You have to demand what you want, and you have to, I mean, for me, I've always just lived and believed that my child is my greatest investment, period. and I'm going to do whatever I got to do. And it also showed him that, hey, I'm riding for you. You need to ride for you.
Right,
like,
right.
if I'm up here every day, you need to put in the work. Like, this is not a game.
Get in these boots. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being you. You are,
Thank you for your help.
You
Again, shout out to Aaron's team. Shout out to Aaron's team. Leanne, Faith, Thelton, Gay. I could not have done it without y'all. I could not.
That's the thing, you get the help whether you want it or not. That's the thing about this team. With this team, you're going to get the opinions whether you want it.
I'm telling you, it was something. It was something. But we got it done, and he graduated, and he's about to graduate college, so we're good.
But thank you for sharing and being so open, being so honest. Thank you for just loving Aaron the way you did and your dedication to him. I think it's a good example, for people going forward, just how you do that thing. So I really appreciate you for that. All right, and I think that's it, and we will be disconnected. So, this was so good and well attended. Maybe we need to have another live about something else.
Girl, we
after that, you know what? That live will be after dark. After dark.
Exactly.
All right, y'all. Bye. Bye, everybody.